Hello everyone. So it is currently Sunday, and as I said last week, I decided to change a little bit the format of my weekly reads, and I'm doing them on Sunday now, and probably you can see them on Monday as it takes a while to upload. But yeah, so this week we had elections in the Netherlands, and I was not ecstatic about the results, but it was better than what we had. So before we had a center-right party in power with some coalition with other parties, and it seems that the same coalition is going to happen. But now there are more seats or more power in the more center-left-ish party. I hope they can form a government soon, because it takes a while sometimes. But yeah, overall it was okay. I think it has been overall a move to the center in these elections, where before it was more to the right. So yeah. So that was positive, I guess. Not ecstatic about it, but it was positive. The other political thing that happened last week is that the Tanzanian president died of COVID, and that was especially ironic because he was coronavirus denier kind of thing, and yeah, so that was something that happened last week, and now Tanzania has a woman president, and I hope she does a better job than the previous one. We will see. And then the other thing I wanted to talk to you about is book prices, because despite myself and despite my goals of focusing on my DBR, and reading less and all of those things that I said at the beginning of the year, I'm getting excited about book prices. The book price mania has started, and I'm excited. The Booker prize, which is the one that I knew I was gonna do because of Kieran, is still not going to be announced until the summer. And I am also currently judging the book to price. I finished my slotted books for these 2 months, so that's good. I submitted my ballot. I filmed my video talking about those, which will come out at the end of this month, beginning of next month, which is when the results of the finals will be announced. And then I will also get my slot for next round if I am chosen, because as far as I understand there might be extra judges, but more likely I'm going to be judging the quarterfinals of the book to prize, and that means at most 6 books that I will have to read in 6 months, that I will have to read in the next 2 months, but we will see, because I might have read some of them. So I'm not sure about how many books I will have to read for that. But there are 3 book prizes right now that I'm excited about. So there is the Jalak Prize, which highlights writers of color, and the long list is out right now. And even though a lot of the books there sound pretty interesting, there's an issue with all these prizes about availability of the books, because as much as I could potentially read all the books time-wise, because there are like 4 poetry collections that shouldn't take too long, and none of the books are huge. I potentially could read the long list. My library doesn't have a lot of them. I have 3 of the 12 available, and I would have to buy all of them, and I don't have the money. So I think my goal here is going to be reading the shortlist, which comes out somewhere mid-April. So I will aim to read the shortlist for the Jalak Prize, I think. And yeah, as I said, I have 3 of them available, so I might read some of them before the shortlist is announced, because I just wanted to read them anyway. But yeah, we will see how that goes. And then the other prize that I'm excited about is the Dublin Literary Award, which has the long list out, but the long list of the Dublin Literary Award is like 48 books. So I'm obviously not going to read the long list. But the shortlist comes out next week, and I'm excited about it, and I am planning to hopefully read all of those. And the reason why that is more possible for me is because the Dublin Literary Awards focuses on backlisted books. So it is easier to get hold of them from the library or from Script and things like that. They are not new releases. I think this year the ones that are eligible were published in English in 2019, and they mix translated and non-translated books. And so from the 48 on that list, I have read 12, and there are another 14 available in my library. So I am expecting to have read a good chunk of them. We will see how many, but I'm hoping that I read a good chunk of them. So I have to read a few more that are available from the library, hopefully. I don't know when the final is announced, but the shortlist is next week, so I will make a reaction video and let you know about my plans of that of that prize then. And then the last one that I'm very excited about is the International Booker Prize, which might be one of my favorite book prizes. And that one, the long list is announced on the 30th of this month. So as of now, I do not know what is going to be in there. I'm really bad at making predictions for long lists. Short list is easier because I know the books and I have an idea of what they're about, but I am very bad about keeping with new releases and and all those things. So I don't know what's eligible, what's not eligible. I don't know what's out there, what can be submitted. I don't keep up with that. So I cannot predict what's gonna be on the long list. But I think what I'm going to do with that one, similarly to the Jalak Prize, just because of money and because these books tend to not be available in the library all of the times, I will probably try to read the shortlist plus whatever more I am interested in that is in the long list. So I don't plan to do that long list either, but I am excited to see what it's going to be in there. So to wrap up, I'm going to probably do the Jalak Prize shortlist, the International Booker shortlist, and the Dublin Literary Awards shortlist the next couple of months. That's what I'm standing in right now. Let me know if you have any thoughts, if you would want me to prioritize any of these prizes over another. I can do that. But yeah, that's where I'm standing, just because of time strains, but also because of money strains. It's very expensive to do all the long list of all these prizes, and I think often people talk about the time side of things, but rarely about the money side of things, and I think it is very expensive to follow all these prizes. So yeah, I'm planning maximum to do the shortlist of all of these things. But yeah, we will see. I'm excited about all of these lists, and I will be reacting to them when they come out. But now that we have that out of the way, let's just talk books, what I read this week. So again, this week I did two things. I did quite a few audiobooks, and I did read a lot of short books, because I felt like spring cleaning my TBR, but I didn't want to remove anything from there because I'm interested in all of the books there. So what I did for the number to be smaller and stress me out less was just reading a bunch of small books that I could finish quite quickly. So let's go to the audiobooks first. The first audiobook that I finished is A Stranger in the Shogun City, Amy Stanley, and I finished this in the mid-month book bash vlog that I did, so I will link that somewhere. But yeah, I read it last weekend, and it was so basically it follows this woman in Japan in the 1900s. I think it was 1900s, and yeah, it just shows what was supposed to be the role and the what a woman was allowed to do at that time. And it talks about this woman that was from a certain place, and she always wanted to move to Eno, which is nowadays Tokyo, and her struggles to do that, and what went through once she moved to Eno, and all the struggles that she had to go through just because she had this feel for independence. And I thought it was interesting on that perspective, but I found the main character that we follow is a non-fiction, so it's not really a character, but like this woman we follow, I found her quite hot-headed and a little bit annoying, and I can do unlikable characters, but I cannot do annoying characters. So this was a bit of a okay read for me. I learned a lot, but I didn't overly enjoy it in the sense it's gonna be on my favorite books or anything. Then the next one I read was The Home Place by Drew Lanham. And this one was a non-fiction memoir of the author who is a naturalist. It's a biologist, I think, or something on those lines. And he talks about his experience being a black man and go bird watching and things like that, and how people react to that because they are not used to it. And I think it was quite valuable in that sense to see that perspective. I was expecting more nature out of it though. It was quite focused on the way he grew up and how he developed this love and his career, and how he feels as a black man in that career, but it didn't talk a lot about the birds themselves and like the birds he was passionate about, or which ones he preferred, or which ones were harder to find, that kind of thing that you would normally expect on a natural memoir. That was not so much there. It was more about him as a person, which was fine, but that's not what I was expecting out of it. And then the last audiobook I finished was The End of Everything by Katie Mack, and this is again another non-fiction about astrophysics and the different ways, astrophysical ways in which the end of everything could come. So like the big crunch, or like the end of the sun, different kinds of explosions that can happen, all those kinds of things. And this one was interesting. I had an idea of most of the things that they talked about, and I found it was very humorous, but sometimes in a very forced way, and sometimes it was a actually funny way. So that sometimes was a bit jarring, but sometimes it was interesting to see that humor added to the something that most people would consider a dry thing. So I think that was helpful, because I don't think this book was targeted at someone that wanted to know a lot about this. It was more of a popular science, and I can understand why humor can help people to connect with popular science. But yeah, for me it was okay. I think it's a good introduction to astrophysics and the different mysteries and interesting things that you can learn from it. But yeah, for me it was fine. And then on the side of the physical books or ebooks that I read, the first one was Slum version by Gabriela Cabezon Camara, and I also read this one during the mid-month book bash, and it's also in my blog, so I will, again, that will be linked somewhere, and that will be linked somewhere, so you can go watch it. But this one I basically read because I have read The Adventures of China Iron, and I really liked it. So I decided to read something else from Gabriela Cabezon Camara, and this was again really nice. She has a way with words that is very poignant, and she does some word plays that I really like. I really like her writing style. I can see why it's not for everybody, but personally I really enjoy. And I also think that the translators did do a very good job, because I speak Spanish, and although I read the translation of this, I could see where some of the jokes came from the Spanish, and I think they did quite a good job translating that. I think in The Adventures of China Iron was even better, but this one was also really good. And also, I mean, this book had queer things, it had slum narratives. It was really interesting on itself. and yeah, I just really liked it. So it was about these two women that lived in the slums, and one of them had a baby, but they became a couple. And in the same slum, there was this woman that was supposed to be a virgin, and there was a whole narrative around it, and the way that the people in the slum went to that person to get certain things. And yeah, it basically just tried to show how hard it can be to live in a slum, and all the prejudices also for these two women that live together. And in that sense, it also reminded me a bit of 9 minutes 38 seconds by Elif Shafak, but with the wordplay and things of Gabriela Cabezon Camara, which I thought it was a really interesting combination for me. The next one I read was The Tragic and Wondrous Life of Ivan and Ivana by Maryse Condé, I think that's how you pronounce it. And this one was set in Guadeloupe, which is a Caribbean island that is under French under the French government, and it follows Ivan and Ivana, who are twins. And Ivan is supposed to be like this rebel child, and Ivana is supposed to be like this very high achieving girl that wants to go to university and all of these things. But the connection between the two affects their lives in different ways, that they don't get where they wanted to be. And as the title says, it's quite tragic. And I also enjoyed this one. I think it was also very interesting because the protagonists moved quite a lot. So they grew up in Guadeloupe, but then they also lived in Mali and in France, and you see the different cultures in all the different places and all the expectations that each of them is supposed to have in all the places, which I found really interesting. So yeah, I would recommend this one. I thought it was quite good. Then the next one I read was The Tradition by Jericho Brown, which is a very small poetry collection from Jericho Brown, talking about the life of Black people in America, I believe. It was quite impactful as well. Some of the poems, I found the structure a little bit jarring because the way the sentences were cut, but some of them I found powerful. But again, I don't read poetry very often, so I'm not sure of all the things that I might have missed. But yeah, I thought I quite enjoyed it, and I would recommend, if you like poetry, maybe you'll like this one. And then the last one I read is Ghochar by Vivek Shanbhag. I hope I pronounced that correctly. This one is quite a famous one and quite a short one as well. And it follows this family in India that used to be poor, and then I think they won the lottery or something, and then they became rich, and you see the family dynamics change when the money comes into the family. And so I have heard a lot of good things about this one, and I personally found it that it was just okay. I was expecting to hear more from the transition, but when the book starts, the narrator says that they are already rich, and then they go back in time and talk about how things were before, and then they go again to the present moment when they have all the money. In the part in which they were poor was not that prominent as I was expecting, so the transition felt like less powerful because the before and after were not as clear, and I didn't get the connection to the characters and to the family from before, and seeing how they change afterwards. Basically, the point I think it's trying to make is that money doesn't make things better, which I agree, but I don't think that point was hammered enough, because we don't see what the good parts before were. We just see the transition and the afterwards. So yeah, I think this could have benefited from being a little bit longer, in my opinion, and exploring that a little bit more. It's not a bad book, it's just I think it was a little bit short in some aspects of it. And then I am currently reading 2 books. The first one is The Wizard of the Crow by Ngugi and Thiongo, and I'm doing a read-along for this, so this is going to be here until April. But I am now on page 467, so I'm more than halfway through. And I'm loving this. I think that people in the Discord don't seem to be enjoying it as much as I am, or at least it's dragging a little bit for them. But I'm enjoying this a lot. It talks a lot. It's a political satire, and it talks a lot about how politicians can be corrupt and how they can manipulate other people to do certain things, and how ridiculous it is sometimes what people are expected to do. It has a lot of female power. It has a lot of class and power dynamics, and I'm just loving it. And then the other one that I'm currently reading, I have about 60 pages left of, and it's In the Country of Men by Hisham Matar, and I'm reading this for the Invisible Cities project for Libya this month. And this one is basically following this young boy around the time of the revolution of Gaddafi, and we see him struggle because his father was against this Gaddafi regime, so they have to struggle a lot with people coming to their homes and trying to find out things about the father and their friends and things like that. So they struggle with the political situation of the country, and also the mother was a teenager when she was married to the father of the boy, and she kind of has depressive tendencies. She drinks a lot and smokes a lot when the father is not there, and this boy is struggling with all of this. And yeah, I'm enjoying it so far. I think it gives a good view of the country. So yeah, I'm looking forward to finishing this. I probably will finish this tonight. So yeah. And then for next week, there are 2 books that I'm planning to read. And the first one is The God Bride by Yangsze Choo, I think that's the name. And this is for my book club. I don't know a lot about it other than it's in Malaysia, and she is a magical realism writer. But yeah, it's for my book club, so I'm excited to read that one. And the other one that I'm planning to read is Rosewater by Tade Thompson. And this one is also dystopian in Nigeria, and I'm buddy reading this with Literary Multitudes. So yeah, I'm excited to dive into this one. I have heard amazing things about this, so yeah. So yeah, those are my plans and my books that I read this week. Let me know what you think about this new format, and well, not new format, it's just different day. But yeah, and let me know if you have read any of these books, what you thought about them, or what you have read this week. And until next video, bye!